Hey, what's up guys? It's Mr. Bodangles 247. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to clean and maintain your rifle. Got a quick question for all you guys out there. What is the difference between 3 dicks and a joke? Your mom can't take a joke. All right, now let's get into it. Alright guys, so this is the AR15 we're going to be working with today. This is my uncle's AR15. He just wanted me to clean it up for him, spruce up some things on it, and we'll be good to go. So for all you beginners, if you haven't broken down an AR15, it's super simple. There's 2 takedown pins on your lower receiver. You're going to pop those up, and your upper and lower receiver will come apart from each other. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the lower receiver and just set it off to the side for now. We're just going to be focusing on the upper receiver. All right. Back by the charging handle, you're going to pull the charging handle. The bolt carrier group and the charging handle will come out. And we're going to set those to the side. All right. We're just going to be focusing on the upper receiver. All right. So turn it upside down so you can look in. You're going to visually inspect, to see if there's any carbon buildup in here. And you're going to get yourself a gun scrubber of some sort. I like the high pressured one just because I feel like it kind of blows some of the carbon that's built up out. So when you're using this, make sure you're using proper safety equipment like eye protection. This stuff does spray really fast, so be aware. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to spray a couple bursts in here. Make sure we get the breach really good, and should be good. All right, set that aside. I'm going to grab a rag, wipe down all the excess because it does spray a lot. All right, so once you got the excess wiped down, you're gonna grab some Q-tips and we're just gonna clean out the inside of the gun. Make sure we get all that carbon out of there. All right, I'm gonna speed up this part so you're not just watching me clean with a Q-tip. All right, so we're back. Now, when you're cleaning with a Q-tip, make sure you get down by your gas tube. There's a lot of carbon that gets built up there just because the gases are pushing the bolt back there. So make sure you get that. And, you can take your finger, rub it along there. If you're not pulling anything on your finger, stick your finger in the breech. If you're not pulling black, like if you stick your finger in there and it comes out black, you need to, spray it again with the scrubber. All right. So it looks pretty good to me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our bore snake, and this is what a bore snake is. All right. Just something that we're gonna run through the barrel. All right. And all this does is you just run it through the breech all the way down the barrel, and then once it gets to the end, you're gonna wrap your hand around it and just pull. And what this does, it actually just pulls all that carbon buildup that builds up in your barrel over time. And I would run it probably 5 or 6 times, depending on how dirty your gun is. But since this gun is fairly clean, the barrel is fairly clean, I should say, I'm just going to do it once for demonstration. All right, so there you have it. That's the bore snake. So like I said, when you're doing the bore snake, do it 5 or 6 times and your barrel will be good. All right, we're going to turn this over. Just give it a quick wipe down. There's still some spray that kind of sprayed on the outside of the gun. And it's really important that you clean off all the excess spray, because this is a solvent. And what solvents do is it actually starts kind of breaking down the paint finish on your gun, and it will kind of look like a gray, like a really grayish hue to it. So make sure you get all the excess solvents off your gun. All right, so looks pretty good to me. All right, so there you have it. That's how you clean the upper receiver. All right, so now we're going to be moving on to the bolt carrier group. I'm just going to set this up top of the screen. Probably just set it up like that. Sorry, you guys' way. All right, so this is the bolt carrier group. And, you know, if you guys haven't taken apart the bolt, it's super simple. There's a retaining pin right here. And if I have fingernails, it'd be easy. Let's see here. I'm gonna grab my knife just so I can pop it out for you guys. So there's a retaining pin right here, and all you're gonna do is just pop that out. That comes out. It's a little retaining pin. All right, make sure you don't lose that, because your bolt will not stay together without that retaining pin. All right, so now we're gonna take out the cam pin. And it should just pop out. Your firing pin should pop out, your cam pin should pop out, and the bolt. All right, and this has some stuff on it, so we're just gonna wipe it down. Yeah, and then you just visually check your bolt, because there's carbon that will build up around this area right here. I'm not seeing any on here. You can rub your finger on it too. There might be a little bit. But what we're going to do is basically spray it down with our cleaner. Spray all these parts. Spray it really good. And this does spray a lot, so you know, make sure you have like some sort of mat down or something, like I do. And I'll have a link to the description, or a link to the product in the description as well. All right, so got all our parts sprayed. I'm just gonna rub the solvent on the retaining pin, and that should be good. Yeah. All right, set that aside. All right, so just like the upper receiver, we're gonna wipe down all the access, and you know, kind of try to stick our finger in there the best we can. All right, and as you're doing this, you're just checking to see if there's still carbon built up on your weapon. All right, and you know, if you have a cleaning kit, they have cleaning kits with, like, you know, brushes and, you know, metal brushes. You can actually scrape off the carbon, but I'm not seeing any sort of buildup or anything like that. So, you know, it looks pretty good to me. Also, you want to check down here, because carbon will build up down here, as well as dirt. You know, you can get sand in here as well, and it's just gonna cause friction, because this is what is actually rubbing up against the top of your trigger. All right, so things to look out for. All right, so we're gonna wipe that down. We're gonna wipe down the firing pin. Wipe it down good. Carbon will build up around here. You guys can see that, you know, there's carbon right here. So I'm just gonna take a brush and clean it. All right, that looks a lot better. And like I said, as I'm going, I'm just visually inspecting to make sure I get all that carbon off. All right, and once I'm done, I'm just setting the parts aside. All right, same with the bolt. Wipe it down. And it's really important to check the face of the bolt because carbon will build up around there. Take a Q-tip, just get in there, try to get all the carbon. As you can tell, you know, there's some carbon in there because it's black. All right, so you basically just go until the Q-tip, you know, starts turning white and you're not pulling anything. So I'm just gonna give it a quick run. Again, visually inspect. Wipe it down. Set it aside. All right, now to the cam pin. Just wiping down all that carbon, and this spray really helps a lot with breaking up the carbon. I mean, like for all us old guys having to use CLP is not that great. You know, I definitely recommend something like this. They make other brands. I know, I think Hops #9 has one that's pretty good too. All right, so that's all the parts clean. I'm just gonna wipe down my area a little bit. All right, so now what we're gonna do is I have some gun oil, and this is a shooter lube, just like their extreme weapons oil. And all we're gonna do is just kind of give, you know, a couple lines. You don't really need much of this, so don't use a lot. I'm you know, not putting that much on it, but you know, as we do this, we're just going to be rubbing this in, and this will help lubricate as well as protect the bolt. All right, I actually probably put a little too much on here. All right, I'm going to put some inside the bolt because I can see the spray is kind of starting to turn gray inside there. And like it's super noticeable. I wish I could show you guys on camera, but like I don't think you guys would be able to see it. All right, so that's actually pretty dirty inside here. So we're gonna take a Q-tip and I'm just gonna clean this out. And as you can tell, it's pretty dirty. So, you know, you just have to keep on visually inspecting. You know, if you're pulling carbon out of an area, make sure that you're hitting that area with a Q-tip. All right, so we're just gonna lube this bad boy up, and you know, that looks pretty good. And you can wipe off the access too, but you know, it's not gonna hurt anything. Like once you put this back in your gun and you start running it again, like it's just gonna help, you know. So I'm just gonna put like a drop on the bolt, just rub it in. You don't really necessarily have to do this, but I feel like any moving part on your weapon, it should have lube on it. All right, I'm just gonna use it to rub all these parts. Firing pin, you really don't need it, but I'm just kind of using what's on my hand to just, you know, lube all these parts before we put it back together. All right, so putting the bolt back together, super simple. You just want to make sure that the extractor is on your right side of the bolt. All right, you're going to push it in. You're going to take your cam pin, stick that in, and you're going to turn it to the side. All right, and take your firing pin, stick that back in. Make sure it's seated all the way to the front. And then you're going to take your cam pin and put it back, or the retaining pin, I'm sorry. and make sure that goes in. All right, we're gonna function test it just to make sure that, you know, everything's holding in there, everything's good. All right, so I'm gonna set that to the side. All right, set that over here. I'm gonna grab our lower receiver. What I like doing is I like taking out the buffer spring and the buffer, and, you know, just giving it a once over. This actually looks really clean to me. Like the face, you know, this kind of looks a little dirty, but, you know, just use what is on your hands and kind of clean it off. All right, but yeah, it's not that bad at all. All right, so buffer and buffer spring are good. And I'm sorry, I didn't tell you guys how to take this off. There's actually a little nipple back here that's holding your buffer and buffer spring in the buffer tube. You're just gonna depress that, and then that whole buffer and buffer spring are gonna just slide right out. All right, so I'm gonna take my oil again. I'm just gonna put a couple of drops in the buffer tube and just kind of work it around. And you're not going to be able to get all the way in there unless you have like super tiny hands. Like, I mean, the tiniest hands in the world. So don't try to get all the way back to the buffer. It's just not possible. But when you're putting this in here, the spring will, you know, get all that lube. I kind of twist it as I go in, and then you just push it in. That's good. All right. So same thing with the trigger. We're gonna, you know, spray our cleaning spray inside here just to break up that carbon that's in there. All right, and again, take Q-tips, get in there as best as you can, try to clean as much as you can, and you can see the carbon. What like once you notice what you're looking for, I mean, carbon, it just looks like sand inside your gun. All right, so that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for getting all that out of any parts that move. All right, so once we do that, I'm gonna set those aside. We're just gonna wipe down all the excess solvent. All right, we can put the hammer up, try to get in there as best as we can. All right, and as I'm doing this, I'm looking at all the parts surrounding the trigger, like the pins, making sure the pins are still in there. I'm still visually inspecting everything that's going on with my rifle. All right, and another option too is you can take this trigger out. It's super simple. Like, maybe I'll make another video about that, but you know, on my main gun, you know, if I've shot a lot of rounds, I would just take this out and just completely clean the trigger separately from being inside the lower receiver. But most of the times, like, you don't need to do that. All right, that's just if you're super picky about, you know, how much dirt is on your guns. But I mean, these guns fire in really subpar conditions, so you know, a little dirt will never hurt. All right, so just wiping down all the excess stuff still. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some lube and we're gonna put it on. There's springs for your hammer and then springs for your trigger. All right, and we're just gonna put lube on both sets of, just 1 drop per spring. All right, you don't have to put that much. Get the trigger up, get the hammer up. All right. Try to work it in there All right. And then we're just gonna wipe it down yet again. All right. So we got the lower receiver done and the upper receiver done. And now what we're gonna do before we put the bolt back in is we're just gonna put a little bead of oil on this charging handle. And you don't even need that much. I just put like a little, you know, maybe fingernail long piece of oil on there. So we just rub that in, rub it on the sides. All right, that's good. All right, so now we didn't oil the upper receiver. So what we're gonna do is the sides of the upper receiver, we're just gonna put a little bit of oil and rub it in. All right, now we have oil on the bolt and we have oil on the inside of the upper receiver. You're just gonna go as far back as you can. I'm just gonna go back here. I have oil on my finger that I'm just, you know, spreading around. You know, you can get up in the breech too. But I mean, all that oil is gonna just basically get blown off like once you start shooting. You know, so you don't really need to get up in the breech, right? But we're just gonna try to get as much of this as possible. And you know, like I said, like once you spray that spray, the inside of your gun will turn a little bit gray. So when you're putting the oil on, you will see it go from gray to black again, and that's what you want. All right. All right, so that's good. All right, so now we got all our parts oiled, cleaned, and now we just have to put it back together. All right, so super simple. Start with the charging handle. We're gonna stick the charging handle in the upper receiver and you'll feel it click in. Once it clicks in, we're just gonna slide it forward just a little bit. And then you have to make sure that your bolt is all the way to the front before you put it in, or it's not gonna go in because the cam pin is actually gonna be hitting the side of your upper receiver, not allowing the bolt to go forward, right? So slide it in, make sure it sends home, wipe down any excess on the ejection port cover, you know, and if there's any carbon on there, you know, get that off as well. All right, so looks good to me. You're just gonna put your upper receiver back on your lower receiver, and then you're just gonna push the pins in, slide in just like that. All right, and the biggest thing that you need to do is a functions check. So all we're gonna do is take the charging handle, we're just gonna rack it back, get all that oil lubed up in there. And you'll actually hear the difference once you start getting that oil, you know, rubbed on all the parts in there. All right. Give it one last wipe down. And we should be good to go. All right, so that is how you fully disassemble, reassemble, clean and maintain your gun. Now, the biggest thing is if you have to replace batteries in your sight, while you're cleaning your gun, this is the perfect time. All right, so these batteries are actually dead. So what I'm gonna do is for EOtech, there's actually a lever right here that you just pull up and the battery pocket comes out. All right, so we're gonna take those out and replace them with new batteries. All right, I'm gonna stick it back on and this handle will go back on. All right, and then do a little functions check. Make sure it turns on, and it does. All right, so there we go. So that is it. That's how you fully disassemble, clean your gun, maintain your optics, and get everything in a functioning order. All right, so if you like this video, please give us a like, subscribe, share this video with beginners that don't know how to disassemble and clean their gun, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.